Hey guys, welcome to our only stream of the day, because today we were very lazy and we had a little break in the afternoon, but now we're back and we're going to have a look at our Viking ship again. So we're going to have to go into our maps, and this one and this one, and let me know what you guys are up to. I know some of you guys work on other stuff while listening to my dulcet tones. So we're going to load up this map. We're going to get our two boats. We did a bit of tidying up on one boat, but what we can do is do a bit of tidying up on the other boat. Okay. So we can look out, and I believe the boats start out here somewhere. And there's one boat. Now, are these... I was told that these are two different boats, right? So that's Viking Boat. Wait a minute. So we've got the splines, which kind of makes sense. So these two are the same. Do I already have a pause button? What's got everybody interested in the chat about a pause button? Do you want a pause button? Is that your problem with life? You need a pause button. Now, the thing is I wouldn't have a pause button. Basically what I would do, and probably will do, is I'll add a mode to the main menu, right? Which is the pause mode, right? So the menu, this menu will show up the same. I'll switch a couple of things. What do you mean it doesn't work right? Right, let's go into our test map, because it looks like our Viking boat, there is only one version, even though Kent told me there was two. So either I'm missing where this boat is, or there is only one boat. Explain your problem. Right, so there's the Viking boat, no physics, right? There's the Viking boat, right, but it's got nothing. Viking boat, no physics, has got nothing. So these aren't used, to take it. Well, it's a very specific problem, Storm, right? Right, and one of your problems is that your pause button should actually be escape. Right, now that's kind of hard to test because obviously the escape button is actually the exit or stop running in the editor. So what I usually do is set it to tab. Okay. Now the question now is, what are you doing with the pause menu? As I said, you can do it a few different ways, right? As I said, depending on how I was feeling, I would either create a new widget that's pretty much a copy of the main menu, or, well, the main menu widget, right? So I'd come into the main menu widget, and then I would just put like I would go to the graph, right? And I would add a variable. Right, now this all needs tidied up. Yeah, because if you override it, you shouldn't be using two buttons that are the same input action, because one will steal the actions of another, right? If it's higher priority. Okay. So basically you don't want two buttons linked to the same thing unless you know how you're going to handle it, right? So, like, for example, right, if you went into the project settings, right, and then in your input, right, if, for example, I've got left action as Q, right? If you've got left action as Q, then if you set up another button later that's also Q, then it'll only fire one of the actions, right? So all of the input will be stolen by whichever one it is got the highest priority. Okay, so basically what you do on your menu, right, is if I go into here, right, and go to the event graph, right, now what you could do here is, what is it, it's listen for input action, right? And then basically you put, say for example it was the left mouse button, right? And your left mouse button was called, in my case, fire arrow. Right? And then, so you would put fire arrow, right? And then you'd say consume. Okay? And then I'm guessing that at the end, right, once you've done that, you would basically not consume, right? Then you'd have to do your callbacks, but these could be blank if you wanted, right? So basically, if you consume this, then this widget will consume it. Hi, Todd Durholt. And then I'm guessing, I'm not 100% sure on this, but you would basically tell it not to consume it anymore. So you can try that, Storm. I don't know why you're saying hola. Well, I do know what means hello, but yeah. So hopefully that answers your question, right? Yeah, also in your class defaults, I'm pretty sure there's also like well, you'll notice it's got gamepad input, right? But the thing is, it's got this priority as well. So you can tell which one is, like if you've got a sub-menu and a sub-menu and a sub-menu and they're all open, then you'd obviously give the highest priority to the most sub one and then gradually move up, you know? The level of priority, but that's a way you can do it if you've got the HUD and your game still running. Anyway, what I was saying was, right, what I would normally do in this instance was I would create a variable and just have mode, and then buttons would show or hide depending on the mode, right? So for example, if we go to the main menu, right, alright, let's go to the main menu, right? And open the main menu. And then in the designer, right? So some things would become like irrelevant under like the pause menu, right? You need to decide for yourself what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. You'd obviously be able to continue the game, right? But under these circumstances, right, your continued game would actually be different depending on which mode you were in, right? So if you were continuing under, you first start the game, then it would load the game, right? But if you're in a mode wherein you're in the pause mode, the continue would just basically take the pause off and continue, right? New game would maybe, see, they would all maybe do something different, slightly different, right? Because new game would probably say, quit this game, go back to the main menu and create a new game. Right, load game would maybe let you load the game as from where you are, right? But there would have to be like certain what do you call it? So it would have to be certain like prompts specific to what you're doing, right? Like for example, in the manage data, if you're deleting a save, you would have to prompt the player if they try to select, delete the current save they're playing. Okay? So it just depends how you want to do it, right? Or you could basically just copy the main menu and then just change the code inside this to do the specific pause things. So a couple of ways, different ways to skin the rabbit basically. It's the same as everything else in Unreal Engine. There's more than one way to do it. It just depends on what you know and if you know it'll work or not. So as I said, for like this, for managing data, when you delete something, you would have to do another check to see if it's the current game that you're deleting, right? What else? On a load game, it would have to be kind of the same. Like you would have to bring up a thing saying, you know, you'll lose any save data for the current game and load the game, etc, etc. All things are possible, right? Then in gameplay, are you going to allow them to do that? Change the gameplay options when they've started the game? Another design decision, right? Graphics, probably not again. Audio, yes, you'd allow that. Keybinds, you would allow that probably, right? But as I said, you'd have to look at each different section of your menu and decide if that's relevant to the pause menu or not, and take it from there. Can I play the game? A good question. It depends what you mean by play the game, because I usually work not in the actual map. I usually work on mechanics, which are basically here, right? So you can run about, you can pick things up, you can craft stuff. So I can make fishies. Maybe I'm an investor, yeah, and maybe you're not. Right, so you can craft stuff, so this takes 2 of these, so we can actually craft that, and you can see it goes now into our inventory. We can exit that. Then we've got storage, so we can store stuff. That can go in here, blah de blah, all of that good stuff. You can climb up ladders. You'll notice the snow as well, it all displaces, right? All of that good stuff. You can climb up ladders, right? But I need a finishing off animation for that, which is why it does that, right? Then you can pull out what's going on. Why am I not aiming? Why is it not aiming? I know I was working on it, but I'm pretty sure it's still working. Or is it because I was doing the crouching stuff? There we go. Right, so you can shoot stuff. Yeah, it's part of an asset. Right, and then you can go up here. You can go up to here and you can skin it. Hi, what's chat doing? Well, one guy's about to invest about $1 million, and Storm is learning about pause menus, right? So you can see, wait a minute, I didn't bring up the, right, so we take that, right? Sandro. The breath. Condensation. Yeah, it needs adjusted slightly, the position of it, but... Right, so now what we can do is we can light this fire. And for some reason... And then it burns. And... So this actually changes the temperature and stuff. Right, but this is a key. Ignore that it looks like a fork because it's a key, right? We've got to... So you need the key to open the door. Okay? So, lots of stuff. And we can shoot animals and stuff gets spawned depending on the time, but for some reason, which I kind of know, right, because I've screwed up, right, it's not showing the HUD. I know, it is quite abandoned. Right. Okay. Okay. This is all to do with saving and loading. Right? And I'm getting the feeling that I'm going to have to... So, Todd, how much do you want to invest? This isn't, as I said, this is just a test map for me to play in and get mechanics working. But this is the real map. Now this is probably going to give us shader issues again, but we'll try it. I don't mean shader problems. I did this from scratch. There's about 200 videos. Sorry, I'm lying. There's 126, at least. No, there's about 120. No thank you. No thank you. No, I won't be doing it in 5.1, thank you very much. JS? I don't know what you mean by JS. JavaScript? Don't think so. If you look on my channel, I've got a video telling you why I'm not using Unreal Engine 5 yet. Okay? I got fed up answering the question. So I made a video instead. Right, so now we can get up, right? And we've actually got our compass and our thingies. And this is a better look at the world that you'll actually see. Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know if it's the build or not, but why it does that hazy stuff for the info. The interact thing sometimes. Don't know why it does that. Right. But all of these systems work. Yeah, there's a problem with that. There's a problem with that though. Anyway, is there's nothing to watch on Netflix anyway, so it doesn't really matter if you stream it, if you share it or not. Still nothing to watch on it. Right, so you'll see people going about their daily business. And I haven't came the wrong way. Right, now, has he moved anything? You see, the thing is, right, that I don't see much of this either because I'm busy working on mechanics for the game, right? So, a lot of the time I look at this, I see the changes as well, and I'm just as like seeing it for the first time as you guys. F11. Can't think I've ever used F11. My question would be, what does F11 do? Right, but this is a little taster. Full screen? Nah. Nah, we don't do that. It'll cripple me. It will cripple my it'll cripple the game basically because I'm running it on a 4K TV. Yeah, so those guys will probably all be just standing about talking or something. Right, but brief look at the start of the game. I hope you're happy. I hope you like what you see. Now we just need to talk about how much you're going to invest now, Todd. Somehow I think that conversation ain't going to happen. Access done, try to read property. Worker spawn point. Ooh. Ah. Right, this is kind of my Yeah, there is sleeping. There is a sleeping mechanic, but you need to sleep in a bed. Right, you can't just lie down to sleep in the snow. That's not going to happen. But yes, you will need to sleep. Right? Now, this is kind of my fault. And it's kind of my fault because basically I didn't tell Kent that he needs to add an event manager in the scene if he wants this to work. Right, so I should really... What do I think it's worth? I don't think that's a question you really ask the developer. I think it's better sort of answered by the person who's looking at it and what he thinks of it, right? Because it's very difficult for a developer to look at it objectively, because basically I've been working on it every day now for 2 months, right? We are entertaining a lot of stuff, and I'll be entertaining some spirits later on tonight. Well, actually, I'll not be entertaining spirits, it will just be beer, but you get the point. Of course, the question is as well is, and to be serious for a minute, we are going to try and get investment, but it's going to be with Kickstarter. So we do actually need investment, right? And basically Kickstarter is people investing in the fact. It's just basically a load of small investors, right? That are going to get something back out of it, which is basically the game, right? So it would depend as well. Angel investors would be great, but that ain't going to happen, I don't think. But, well, you live in hope. Right. So, I think... No, Todd, it doesn't work like that. You know, because then you could put a finite number on it and say, well, if it takes me a year to do, then basically that's $25 an hour, 8 hours a day for 200 days, so that means it's worth that, but it's not. I'm not being negative, I'm just being realistic. You see, the point is, you can't measure it like that, right? Because probably you could make a wooden bed, right? And it might take you a week, right? So let's say it's $200, right? Are you going to sell it for $200? Probably not. Right? Well, if the purpose of it is to sell it in the end, right? But the point being, there might be absolute piece of junk. A software engineer does not make $75 per hour. Because I'm a software engineer. There is no figure that a software engineer makes. It depends what industry they're in. It depends what country they're in. It depends where they're located in that country. Depends on the size of the company. Depends on the type of company. Yeah, exactly where. I'm guessing $75 an hour would be low if it was in California. So they don't earn $75 an hour there, right? If it was my home country, it wouldn't be $75 an hour, I can tell you that. So you can't just pluck a number out there and say you should be earning $75 an hour. No, there's more to it than that, right? God, it isn't even for just software engineers. Picking fruit. You know, if people won't do the job, then they'll get paid a lot of money to do the job because nobody else will do it. Which is happening in the States at the moment, but... So it's not quite simple as that. Right, but my point is that the investor would have to come in, look at the game and say, yep, that's got potential. Right, now, as I said before, it's all dependent on the type of investor. Right, you can do it through Kickstarter, which, as I explained, is kind of a, let's say, small scale investment. Well, we could argue that one. I would certainly not say priceless, because there's nobody's talent is priceless. Everybody has a price. Right, so I wouldn't say priceless. No one. Yeah, there's plenty. You just told me Elden Ring was done in 4.25. So there's a whole team that can do it. Ah, oh, damn it. Right, actually, you know what we can do here? I think what we can do is, if we go to our saved games, right, and delete them all, right? Oh no, Todd, don't go. I thought you were going to invest. Damn. Is that a menu screen? Yeah, it's a menu screen. What, did you not think the game had a menu screen? It's got a fully working menu. Normally the first thing I do. Alright. I'm not keen on that red. Anyway. And that's not going to be gameplay. Well, could be. But we're going to have to add stuff to that, right? We're going to have to be adding stuff to this, like turning off arrow cam and various other things, right? So that's the plan for that. We've got our graphic stuff, we've got our volumes, we've got our keybinds, right? So we can click new game and test. I'll get this to auto select this and then reset it. Yeah, could add a point of view slider. Right. So why is it 5? Right, hang on a second here. Hang on a bleeding second. What's going on with this? What's going on with this? What button was I using? Oh, okay. So what was L? I was sure I was using L for something. I was using L for being stupid or something. Right, where are we? So it's O, right? So I'm going to do that. Yeah, I've always had that, but I kind of found out yesterday it wasn't really loud enough, so nobody could hear it. So I turned it up. It's actually always, it's been there for about a month, and apparently nobody ever heard it, but hey ho. Never mind, I thought you were all relaxing to the relaxing music, but obviously you weren't, you were hearing pretty much silence. Because I did have it pretty low, but anyway, right, where were we? Oh yeah, back in test map, right. So we basically press O, well, we press play. Right, so we press O. Right, thank you. Then we save. Thank you. Right. So I'm going to have to, as I said, I'm going to have to message my colleague and tell him that he needs to put an event manager blueprint into the what do you call it? So right, so I had to let him know that in case he was trying to muck about with it and he's having problems, right? So what we're working on, can't remember. Right, so this should show our HUD now, right? Right, there we go. Right, thank God for that. Now, I'm not sure why our aiming wasn't working, right, when we went up here. Was that just some weird... Oh, apparently it was some weird thing. Right, can I hit something for here? Do you think I can hit that? Right, It is pretty cool, that, isn't it? Arrow cam's pretty cool. Oh yeah, there's lots of things here. There's storage. You can store things. Put them into inventory and stuff. You can craft stuff. All good shit. Right, what I was working on the other day was the spawner. A worker spawner. Right, now what you'll see is this here is a worker spawner. Not this. That's not a worker spawner. This is a worker spawner. It's sometimes unfortunate the colour we or the theme of our map, because it hides the cursor and I'll lose the cursor on my screen and can't see it. It's partly because I'm blind as well, right enough, but right, so I made this spawner yesterday, right? And what you can do is you can tell it what job it's got in the worker placement number, right? And then basically you place a job down and then you give it a number and then it basically does the rest. Right, so you'll see here when I actually, I'll turn around and I'll let you see, right, but there was one bit not working, so we're going to have to take a look at that, right? I'm sure I disabled movement when she was sitting down, but it's maybe because she's starting in that position. Right, so if you notice, right, we got her and she'll go over and stand there, right, but at 9 o'clock she should start her job, right, which should be spearfishing, right, but the problem is she's not going to do it, right, because she's a different skeleton, right, which is a bit of a bummer. Right, but if we do this, right, so I'm going to press 5, don't know why it's doing that, right, so notice he's got a spear, right, so he's got his spear ready to do some spear fishing, right, but he's not spearfishing, and he shouldn't spearfish until 9 o'clock, right, but there's something about it that isn't firing because he's not actually, yeah, snow moves, yeah, there's a track, look, so I can make donuts in the snow. Alright, that's a bad idea because that's going to give internet people an idea of what I'm trying to draw there. Or I'm just actually walking about here till 9 o'clock so that we can see him not doing anything when he should be. Which was the last part of what I was going to do, which leads me on to the new part of what I was going to do. Right? So I'm going to escape that for now. When I come back, we're going to think about a data table for our different workers, right? And we're going to have to save their jobs. Well, not necessarily their jobs, but... Well, first of all, we're going to have to work out why our animation is not playing, right? Of the spearfisher guy, right? Because if we look, right, this is a spearfisher guy over here, right? And we'll take a look at him first to see what he does, okay? So I shall be back in 2 minutes, guys. If you're enjoying the stream, hit like and subscribe. Check out the description for links to the game's Discord, my personal Discord, Patreon, and previous game on Steam. And I'll be right back, guys. 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. It's not a blind space, Grim. It's a montage. Back in a second. Right, we are back. Oh, have I not got it on repeat? Yeah, it's still going. It's just ended and it's restarting. Don't worry about it. Right, Grimson. We are not working with the blend space. Okay. We are working with a modified. Right, that's annoying me. I'm going to have to fix that now. Right, you'll see him. Right, he goes and does his fishing thing, right? Which is all well and good. Right. Now, the problem is... Right, wait a minute. Right. The problem here is it works if you do it manually, right? Now, the way you normally, let's see, right? This is an asset, right? Which I'm disliking more and more. And basically, I modified it quite a lot, okay? Well, I've modified certain parts of it, okay? Like, so that they'll talk to you, right? Before they didn't talk to you, right? Oh, you missed it earlier, Grimson, when I actually showed the actual game instead of just my test map, my playground. Right, but anyway, the point being, I had to add, like, the tools for the people doing the job, right? So, if we press play again, right? They've got various jobs. And all a job actually is a montage, right? Showing them doing something, right? So, for example, him there who's chopping wood, you just basically select a montage to play. And then I had to put the tool in his hands and that sort of stuff. Now, it's not perfect, but it just gives the kind of idea that we're looking for. So this is like a spearfishing type one. And then there's like a begging one, and you know, depending on which animations you've got, you can put whatever you want, okay? Now, the thing is that what I did was make a one of these, right? And what one of these is basically, it makes it easier. No, they go to their jobs. They even go to bed. Right, what I've done here is I've extended it, right? So that you can fire this thing and then every single worker will get spawned and start doing their thing, right? Yeah, there's everything. But you won't be able to go in the ocean in the game because obviously you're in Arctic conditions, so you would last about a minute, right? So that would be discouraged slightly, right? So what I do here is basically set up the NPC that you see over here. This is a job, right? This is a job, the green silhouette thing, and this is the NPC, right? So you basically give them a mesh, right, and then you set up a workstation, right? But so what you do is you create a workstation, right? And then you basically do the pipette thing, and select that workstation for that guy, and then you do basically the same thing for the bed. He's not got a bed, you see. So they'll use the closest bed or the closest workstation, right? But the interesting thing is that if we click on like this workstation here, he should be chopping wood, right? And what you see is it's got the NPC chopping wood montage. Okay? Now, the interesting thing here is that he has got the A spear fishing loop montage, right? And that's right. So this should be set up in exactly the same way as you would set it up otherwise, right? Because you'll notice that, it's not the same. I'm going to copy that. Did I bollocks this up and pick the wrong montage? But probably doesn't work with that particular thing. Right? But anyway, the way I've done it here is, all you need to do is drop down your spawner, right? And then pick the job, and then pick the worker number, and then you just drop in this job and set the same worker number, right? And then this guy will be assigned to this job, right? So if I'm right, so if I'm right, I don't know why it does that jump to the camera when I hit 5. Right, now, our spear is obviously trying to do the thing, right? Whereas our character cannot. So what that means is that this guy, whoever it is, cannot do that loop, right? And this is where you run into problems, because if our different characters, right, are using a different skeleton, then we're kind of screwed. Okay? And I'm beginning to think the best idea for this is to rewrite this whole bloody thing. Right? But to explain the problem, right, which is what you've got to kind of do, is we've got to go into our meshes, I think. Okay, not our meshes. We need to get our characters, right? So we need this, okay? And we've got NPC Viking A, right? And then what we actually need to do here is have a look at his animation blueprint and see what's compatible. What's making it stopping him doing the montage is the montage hasn't been, the animation hasn't been targeted at this skeleton, right? So basically, we can take a look at the blueprint class, right? And you can see he's got all these animations, but I'm guessing, right, that he can't do forget that. Right, okay, so the way that you fix this, okay, is, I'm going to close that for now, right? We've got our skeletal mesh. Oh, there's millions of animations, mate. I'll show you the animation folder. That's just a little side dude guy thing. This is the animations, right? And then inside the animations there's separated animations for like building, campfires, drinking, foraging, healing, idle, pickaxe. These are some of the things that we're using, like the spearfishing one, right, so we're in the right place, by the way, right? So what we want to do is we want to open this up, right, and take a look at it, right? You can see that she's meant to have a spear here and no the bow, right? But you get the idea, right? So what we actually need to do is retarget this, right? And this is the thing that always confuses me, because we should be looking for the skeleton and I don't even know if that's the right one. You see, it's not that one. Now, is it that one? So you can't really see. Right, I'm going to cancel that now, right, and we're going to go back, but we are going to retarget that, but we're going to find out exactly what that animation is, right? So it was this dude, it was animations here, right? So this should tell us the skeleton. Right, but that's a bit different. Right, so it's like, is it this guy? SK Viking. Right, and if it's SK Viking, you'll notice that it's S mannequin. Right, now, I'm pretty sure my colleague told me that it retargeted these to a different skeleton so that it would be a bit easier. Right? Famous last words, of course. So what we need to do is get our spearfishing. And it's, I believe, S mannequin. Right? So now that we've done that, it goes into your original content folder, and now what we want to do is to drop it into here. Right, so here is our A spear fishing loop. Right? So put it into there. And we know, right, it's in there, right, and then we go to our job, right, and where'd it go? Right, here it's here, right? Then we turn that into a montage. Right, and then we plonk it in there. Then we press play. Yeah, it's, you really need to have a plan. You really need to have a plan for all of this stuff, the animations and retargeting and all that nonsense, right? Right, so he's still not doing it, right? Well, wait a minute, he might not do it till 9 o'clock. Right, come on, 9 o'clock, hurry up. Yeah, he's idle. But the problem is, right, that this guy might not be the guy that we want. It might have been the other guy. And if those are two different skeletons, like she's got a different skeleton, right? So you'll notice that she's got a different bone structure, so the spear hasn't attached to her, right? And these are the problems that we're going to have, right? But these are the things I've got to work out, okay? And I've got to work out with the design guy and the modeler how we get around these problems. Like, for example, I know how to do a data table so that we could actually load all the animations if it was retargeted to different skeletons. So you could do it that way, right? Or you could get all the models to fit with one or two skeletons to cut down on the number of animations you need, right? It just depends on how you're going to tackle it, right? But in this case, this job thing isn't going to work, or it's going to be easy to screw it up, right? So this was one of the reasons right? So, like, for example, I've got this helper for my colleague to use, right? So that it basically sets up items for him in the right categories and the right settings and everything, right? So you can basically just select like an animal, right, and then basically pick it, and then like you can just say create interactable, and it'll all set up for them and everything, right? You'd obviously need to do that, but it'll do that, right? And that'll be all set up, ready to go. Now, that's not the greatest example of it. A better example would be like food, right? So you can set that up, create interactable, and now this is all set up to be like the right settings, right? To get it to do the interactions and if you can inspect it or not and blah blah blah. And the other thing about this is that if he wants to just do scenery, right, let's say he's just doing, you can do this with ladders as well. You can select a ladder and go to town on it, or a fire, the different types of fires, right, and it will set it all up for you. But if you're just wanting to do things that are lying about, then you can just basically, like say you wanted a food but you couldn't interact with it, right? So say it was this, well you can just select that and you can just say like mesh only, and it will just do it with no settings so that it's just ready to go. Don't know what you mean, quite abandoned, what advice? Right, so really what I want to do is a similar thing for our jobs, right? So that it'll create basically the three different things you need, right? Like if you create a worker, right, I could do this and I could put a tab up here so that you can, a widget switcher, right? So that you can select item, select worker, blah blah blah, right? Yeah, it's the only way to go into it. You don't, as I say this to everybody, right, that your first game isn't your first game. You get to about your 10th project before you even have a clue what you're doing, right? So go into it just to have fun and muck about, right? That's the best way to do it, because probably it ain't going to freaking work, right? And then like the second project you do, you'll use the stuff that you learned from the first time you mucked it up. And then the third time you do it, you'll learn from the second and the first time you did it, like, and learn what you mucked up. And then by the time you get to about your 10th, right, you'll actually maybe be able to make something, right? Now, I can give you an example of that, right? If I just look at my projects, have a look at this, right? Library, okay? These are all stuff just me mucking around, learning different things about multiplayer client test, defensive wall, right? Can't even remember what that is, right? That's the game on Steam. Right, host migration. That's my first project ever, well, pretty much. Right, so there's all of these different projects that I started with no intention of finishing, but it was all just to test how to do certain things. Right, like Shooty Bang Bang is a first person shooter where I was just playing around and showing somebody how fast it was that you could get something working fast. You know, ATM was another one just showing making a project where we made basically a bank teller. Right, as I said, just make projects for different things that are in your head and try them out and see what you can do. And I've deleted a lot, by the way. These weren't all of them. I purged a huge amount of them. Right, but yeah, don't think that your first project is going to end up a finished game, because it won't, right? Because you just don't have the skills to do a game, right? That will come in time, but it's not going to happen straight away. Right, so I am guessing that this character here like, see this guy here? He is SK Viking. Right? Now, it looks to me right. This is the one chopping wood. Right? So it's this one here. Right? So what I'm going to do is, can I do that? I should be able to, yeah. Right. Right, so what we're going to do, right, is we're going to get our spawny dude, right, and we're going to say chopping wood, right, and then we're going to get our blueprints, right, and we're going to pop down our chopping wood one, right, and then we're going to say 7, okay, and well, actually what we'll do is we'll move him around this corner a bit so it's obvious that he's going to the right place. So we'll press play. Right, so we'll hit 5. Right, so he's got his axe and he's fell through the ground. Right, and that's because for some reason these animations right, so I think it was actually going to do it there, right, because basically it's the montage that pushes them into the ground. Right, so she didn't fall through the ground, so that's good, but we need him. We need a him, because it might be her that we need to do the montage, right? That's her again. We need him to see if it is the animation. Well, this hasn't been a very profitable night as far as progress goes, but it's been fun. Oh, is this going to just take the... Right, so he's ready to chop, right? He is choppy guy. Right, but you'll notice that the animation is not right. Right, so is this some weird thing? Because this is bizarre. I'm waiting till 9 o'clock, by the way, guys, on the timer here. Right, so that made no difference. Right, what about the other guy? Is it going to spawn him? That's the same guy, I believe. Ah, look! So it is the animations, right? See, that's a different guy. Right, so what I'm going to need to do is talk to Kent about this and actually plan a way forward. Now, the funny thing is, right, that this seems to have been a fluke that it worked. That a fluke I picked the same guy, because if I hadn't, none of this would work, right? Because you would have got those weird things like the montage not playing at all, or the weird body effect, or whatever, right? Yeah, I know. Normally you'd set up something, you know, like a log here or something, right? It wouldn't be an empty space, right? It's the same as if I did it spearfishing and I just had them spearfish on the ground, it would look stupid, right? But obviously you place these in strategic positions around other objects so it actually makes sense, right? It's smoke and mirrors, yeah, but I mean, you can do your thing and then, you know, create a... You can take it as far as you want, right? You could basically have logs and then the log comes up, you know, and then the basket fills up with logs and particle effects, blah, 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 right? You could do all of that stuff, right? But the point was to get the system working in the first place, right? And the problem at the moment is we don't have the animations split up into a way that it's going to work, right? Unless . No, he won't. It's just for it's just for show, right? He's not going to do any more than just like chop wood all day. It's just to give it some flavour so that people aren't standing about doing nothing, right? And it'll give the appearance that they're actually doing something, but they're not really, right? Right? They don't actually... These characters, or this asset, is not made for them to actually do anything. It's made to give the appearance that they're doing something, right? All they do, right? If we look at their logic, right? All they basically do, and I've added to some of this so that it works better, right, is they basically move to a location at certain times, right? And then you just basically tell them to sleep, so they'll sleep. And it's the exact same for work. They'll just move to a location and then it'll play the montage of them working, right? Now, I stopped them. You'll notice here, right, that the bit I added, right, is basically you can interrupt them, right, which wasn't in it before, right? So she's not going to do anything, right? But you get the picture here, right? Is, right, she's just going to, imagine she's chopping wood, right? Just imagine in your head. But you can go up and talk to her, right? So she'll stop, and then as soon as you walk away, she'll start doing her montage again, right? So it gives appearance that she's actually intelligent, but she's not really. All it does is basically interrupt her, right? And then this actually, I set up this dialogue system so that basically we can tailor it so that they'll say different things, right? It'll be a random thing. And it can depend on the job that they're doing or whatever, right? So basically, if you noticed, right, we can extend this system out, right? If we talk to her, right, that's a kind of generic one. I'm off to hunt and fish for the day. Well, she's not. She's chopping wood, right? But I can set it up that she's not going to say that unless she's going to hunt and fish, right? So basically, I think it's in here. See, I've set up this, the structure, the dialogue category, and the NPC dialogue, right? So you basically see in here, like at work, going to bed, idle, sleeping, going to eat, eating, going to work, blah blah blah, right? And I can also do that while they're working, it'll tell you the job, and it'll have a category of what job it is. So if she's chopping wood, or he's chopping wood, or whatever, we can actually play this dialogue here that says, do you mind, I'm trying to chop wood here, or whatever, right? But as I said, this is me extending it through this behaviour tree, right? By doing this thing here, right? And she basically starts talking to you, or plays the dialogue and stops working, right? And that's how that works. So there you are, guys. Right, I'm going to call it for the night. It's Saturday night. We should really all be doing something more entertaining. Although there's not really much more that I do that's entertaining than this. But anyway, I'll tell you what. I'm going to take the dog for a walk and stuff. If anybody wants a game of anything and wants to chat or whatever, then pop me a message on Discord or Steam, and we'll see what we can do. Right, so if you've enjoyed the content, hit like and subscribe. Check out the description for links to the game Discord, my Discord, my personal Discord, my Patreon, and also my previous game on Steam. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be back tomorrow 2 PM. Bye bye for now.